as well. All right, let's get right into it. So welcome again to the final draft MetroCog 2021-2024 Transportation Improvement Program virtual open house. For attendees here today, I have allowed you to speak, so you are currently on mute, but you will have the opportunity to unmute yourself and speak at certain points of the open house today. We'll start with some introductions. We'll go through the purpose of this open house, what is the TIP, what is MetroCog, and then we'll go through the document changes, starting at the beginning of the document, and then getting into some of the TIP projects, and then finishing off with some questions and discussions after the TIP projects, and then highlighting the last few sections of the document changes, and more time for Q&A or discussion, and how to stay involved in next steps at the end. My name is Luke Champ. I'm an assistant transportation planner with the Fargo-Moorhead Metropolitan Council of Governments, also known as MetroCog, and I will be the TIP contact for folks. And one of the first things I want to do is actually provide my contact information in the chat, so that if you do, for some reason, need to take off and would like to provide a comment or feedback, you could simply send me an email or give me a phone call. Michael Maddox, Senior Transportation Planner with MetroCog, couldn't make it today. And then I do have Adam Altenberg, MetroCog Community and Transportation Analyst, and Cindy Gray, Executive Director, MetroCog, here today. They're helping behind the scenes and may be able to help in any questions as well. We have other panelists online too. We have a few folks from MnDOT and NDDOT. Why don't we have, if you don't mind, we'll start with MnDOT. I think Mary is here. If you don't mind introducing yourself, Mary.
I'm Mary Safgren. I'm the planning director for District 4 out of Detroit Lakes, and the MetroCog is in our area. We oversee the programming and planning in my area.
Thanks, Mary, and we'll head over to NDDOT. Why don't we start with Wayne? Could you introduce yourself?
Wayne Zacher. I am the MPO coordinator for the North Dakota DOT.
Thanks, Wayne. Bob, are you on the call here?
I am. Are you able to hear me?
Yep, can hear you just fine.
Outstanding. Bob Walton, North Dakota DOT District Engineer. I'm right here in Fargo, and the district primarily oversees the construction projects that central office funds for us. And we also maintain the roads, operate snow plows, traffic signals, stuff like that.
All right, thanks. Thanks, Bob. And our panelists are here today to help answer any questions that may arise throughout our discussion. So today we're going to hold this open house to inform people about the TIP. We'll highlight federally funded transportation projects. We'll solicit feedback from the public. And then today marks the date that we'll be releasing the final draft 2021 to 2024 TIP document. The public comment period started on July 9th of this year, and it's expected or anticipated to end in September with a couple meetings that I will touch on at the end of today's open house. I would also like to, before I get too far into this, for traditional public input or public participation meetings, we do have optional Title VI surveys that you can fill out. I'm going to copy and paste the link here in the chat. So feel free, it is an optional survey if you feel so inclined, which helps MetroCog with its Title VI non-discrimination planning efforts. So what is the TIP? It was a favorite acronym, as we already know, but it is actually the Transportation Improvement Program. and it's a federally regulated document required by metropolitan planning organizations, or MPOs, such as MetroCog. It's developed annually in coordination with our partner agencies such as MnDOT, NDDOT, MapBus, also known as Fargo and Moorhead Transit, and then our local jurisdictions, including the City of Moorhead, City of Dilworth, Clay County, City of Fargo, City of West Fargo, City of Horace, and Cass County. The TIP is a compilation of significant surface transportation improvements. The document coordinates and schedules transportation projects in the FM area over the next 4 fiscal years, thereby making these projects eligible for federal assistance. So what is MetroCog? We are the MPO, which is the it's federally designated for the FM area, and MPOs are mandated to exist by transportation legislation to serve 5 functions, one of which is the development of a TIP. And I'd like to highlight number 4 is develop a fiscally constrained TIP based on the MTP and designed to serve regional goals. But I want to highlight this number 3, develop and maintain a fiscally constrained Metropolitan Transportation Plan, or MTP, for the jurisdictions with a planning horizon of at least 20 years that fosters mobility and access for people and goods, efficient system performance, and preservation and quality of life. And that's important to note because all of the projects that are listed in the TIP document come directly from the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, also known as Metro Grow, which is our long-range plan. And if it's not directly listed in the MTP, then the project must meet the policy objectives of the plan. So both documents are fiscally constrained. In the case of the MTP, this is based on reasonable estimates of future revenues. That's federal, state, and local revenues to fund transportation projects. And for the TIP, fiscal constraint is based upon the amount of transportation funds identified by the respective DOTs for their federal aid projects within our area. So in other words, all the projects programmed in the TIP have been awarded federal funding. Federal funding has been identified, and that is why they are in the TIP. Other projects that we include in the TIP are regionally significant projects which do not have federal funding associated with them, but may have state or local funding, and they are in the TIP because they are defined as having a significant impact on our regional transportation system, or they greatly forward the goals and objectives of our Metropolitan Transportation Plan. And then we also this year are highlighting a few locally funded projects that are just in there for informational purposes. And I will note that regionally significant projects they do impact our funding tables and fiscal constraint, and they must follow the guidelines of our formal TIP modification procedures. So I would like to start at the beginning of the document and go through any of the major changes that have occurred. Then we'll get into the project listings and then finish off the document. So section 1 is the introduction. And this year we added a subsection on project solicitation, prioritization, and selection. And that was updated to reflect some potential changes to MetroCog in the way the FM area receives federal funds. So currently, federal funding is administered through the state DOTs. However, it is anticipated that after the 2020 decennial census, MetroCog's urbanized area, or UZA, population will exceed 200,000, which would designate the area a TMA, or Transportation Management Area. And that TMA designation would significantly change the way in which we receive federal highway and federal transit administration funds through what is called the direct allocation. So it would put the responsibility of administering said federal funds solely in the hands of MetroCog. And we updated this section to reflect the current processes and highlight how a TMA designation may impact these processes. So when I'm talking about TIP projects, they are projects that fall within our metropolitan planning area, which is this black border here. You could see the urbanized area in purple there, which is census designated urbanized area. Section 2 is updated every year. These are project maps. They list all of the projects by metropolitan planning area, UZA or urbanized area, and then we also have a locally funded projects of note and regionally significant projects map. Section 3 is the detailed project listings. This is really the meat and potatoes, if you will, of the TIP document, and it maps and lists all of the federally funded, regionally significant, and then select locally funded projects by year. A new feature to Section 3 this year is a guide for reading the project tables. Because these are such an important part of the TIP, we feel it is good to have a little navigation guide, if you will, to help people find those juicy details that are really important to the TIP document and to the projects. So I would like to go through here year by year through the projects, and I will be highlighting new projects. That means that they're new to the TIP this year, or they've significantly changed. For example, they've changed years. So we'll start with 2021, and I'll start with the transit table. The first project I would like to highlight is a Moorhead Transit project to purchase the 35-foot bus. And this was originally in year 2022. It was moved to 2021 because that bus unit number 1020 was actually totaled in an accident. So the project had to be, the bus replacement had to be moved up. And the federal funding source changed from STBGP, or Surface Transportation Block Grant Program, to FTA 5307. This bottom project, the Moorhead Transit Dilworth Walmart Transit Hub Improvement Project, is a new project in 2021. It was originally in 2020. However, we received some guidance from the FTA to split out the design and engineering. So there is a design and engineering for the transit hub in 2020, and then this is for the construction of the project in 2021. Each year there is a project map associated, and projects are listed by their MetroCog ID, and they are displayed in different colors for their project typology. So as you can see, there's a lot of green and purples and oranges. Green would be a rehabilitation project. Purple is the reconstruction, and safety is orange. So the first project in 2021 I would like to highlight is a North Dakota DOT project on I-94 from 42nd Street to I-29. That's for asphalt paved and concrete median barrier. That is a safety project. The next two projects I would like to highlight are on I-29. They're NDDOT projects. For both of them are structure paint projects. The one north of us is at the Argusville city limits for the structure over the interstate, and the one south of us is at, it's described as 6 miles north of North Dakota 46, but that is the interchange of for Horace and Wild Rice. Those are both rehabilitation projects. This NDDOT project is on I-94. It's highlighted because it was in year 2020, and it has been moved to year 2021. That's 6 miles east of North Dakota 18 in Castleton, and that's for median crossovers in anticipation of a structure replacement project at that location. NDDOT has another project that moved from year 2020 to 2021 on I-94, and this is from East Castleton to near West Fargo city limits. That's a thin mill and overlay on I-94 West. And those were all the federally funded projects. And now I'll get into the locally funded projects. So the first one is actually a regionally significant project that was added for the city of Fargo. It's on 4th Street North from Main Avenue to 1st Avenue North, and that's for the reconstruction of 4th Street North. It is using all local funding. However, we are calling it regionally significant because, as we'll see in years 2022 and 2023, they are going to be doing this, reconstructing this roadway in phases, so it will have a significant long-term impact on travel patterns on that minor. It's a minor collector roadway. The city of Moorhead has a regionally significant project on Center Avenue, the reconstruction of Center Avenue from 8th Street to 3rd Street. And that is, again, 100% locally funded project. It's being defined as regionally significant because of the potential transportation impacts it will have at railroad crossings, and the Center Avenue Bridge may be closed for a period of time during construction. MnDOT has a regionally significant project in Glendon on US Highway 10. This is at the intersection of CSAH 19, County State Aid Highway, and US 10. And that's for a right turn lane construction for eastbound Highway 10 traffic at CSAH 19 in Glendon. And we're deeming that to be regionally significant because it will alleviate some potential congestion or safety concerns there and have a long-term impact to US Highway 10, which is a principal arterial roadway. This project is a Clay County project that we are just noting or highlighting for informational purposes. It's on CSAH 33 in the city of Hawley, actually in their central business district or downtown area. From Main Street to Peters Street, they're doing a urban reconstruction of CSAH 33. And we wanted to highlight that because it does forward the goals and objectives of the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, as well as it is in our rural corner of our planning area. So it's nice to see some of those big projects going on there. Cass County also has a locally funded project that we wanted to highlight, what we are calling the new County Road 6. If you know where the alignment of 76th Avenue South is, that's for grading and roadway expansion from County Road 17 to 45th Street, and then north from County Road 17 to 64th Avenue South. And that is a rehab project in preparation, as you'll see in 2022, for a paving project. 2022 projects, again, we're highlighting new and significant changes. The transit side of things is pretty straightforward. There's a couple transit capital purchases for City of Moorhead and transit operating assistance. The first project I would like to highlight in 2022 is the City of West Fargo project on Drain 45. And this goes from 7th Avenue East to Main Avenue, and that's for the construction of a multi-use path along Drain 45. And this is actually phase 2. Phase 1 is from 13th Avenue to 7th Ave. That's using federal funds. NDDOT is adding a project on I-94 from the Valley City District, District 2, to West Fargo city limits, and that's for high tension cable, median, guardrail. It's a safety project receiving federal or using federal dollars. And NDDOT is prioritizing some HSIP funding in our area for median guardrail specifically. And I think their ultimate goal is to prioritize those projects across the entire state. NDDOT added a project in 2022 on North Dakota 18 from 7th Street South to 3rd Street North. This is in Castleton, and that's a rehabilitation project for curb ramps. Cass County has a project on County Road 17 in Horace from 81st Avenue South to 76th Avenue South. That's for construction of a multi-use path along the west side of County Road 17. That's a bike ped project receiving federal funds. And now let's get into some of the regionally significant and locally funded projects. Again, this is City of Fargo 4th Street North. It's a regionally significant project for the reconstruction of First from First Avenue North to Sixth Avenue North. So it's a continuation of that 4th Street North reconstruction. The city of West Fargo has a regionally significant project here. Again, using 100% local funds, but that's for signal modifications and a turn lane at the intersection of 9th Street East and 17th Avenue. You may be familiar with this area. 9th Street East turns into Veterans Boulevard just south of the Interstate 94 there. And we're calling this regionally significant because it will have some impacts to how the interchange operates there, presumably. And it does forward some important components of our metropolitan transportation planning, including our congestion management plan and intelligent transportation systems plan. Cass County has a regionally significant project here. Again, we're calling it the new County Road 6. If you know where the 76th Avenue South alignment is, but this is for a new paved 2-lane roadway from County Road 17 to 45th Street and then north to 64th Avenue South. It's regionally significant because it is a new roadway, and it is one of those areas, the Southwest Metro, that one of our goals has been to create or connect the roadway network there. And I know Horace residents will be happy to see that because they've had instances where construction on County Road 17 has entrapped them or only allowed them to get out of town one direction. So that is an important connection, especially with the new middle and high school going down there. 2023 projects, transit side of things is pretty straightforward. You can see a lot of Moorhead transit projects, a lot of transit capital purchases, nothing out of the ordinary. The first project I would like to highlight in 2023 is a City of Fargo project at 42nd Street and I-94. That's for the structure, the grade separation there, and that's a structure rehabilitation of that structure. NDDOT has a project on I-29 north of our urbanized area from the Fargo district to the Grand Forks district. So it's not completely mapped on here. It's actually 50 or close to 50 miles long, but that's for high tension cable, median guardrail. That's a safety project. And I think Bob Walton could attest that the plan is probably that will be phased out. Right now, there is a pretty high dollar amount associated with HSIP funding. So if there are any questions about that, we can ask Bob Walton of Fargo District to clarify. These two projects, 919-0025 and 919-0027, are highlighted because they were in year 2022. They're NDDOT projects on I-94 westbound and eastbound, and that's for rehabilitation from West Horace Road to near West Fargo's east jurisdictional boundary. This is a new project, NDDOT project on North Dakota 10 East, or the frontage road, which is just south of the I-94, and they will be doing a mill and overlay from North Dakota 18 East in Castleton to the Raymond interchange. That's a rehabilitation project. And then there's another NDDOT project, which is also on North Dakota 10 East, and that's the frontage road north of the Interstate 94, and that's from Lynchburg interchange to North Dakota 18 south in Castleton. That's for concrete pavement repair and a mill and overlay project, rehabilitation. Regionally significant project here for the city of Fargo, 100% locally funded. So it's the reconstruction again of 4th Street North from 6th Avenue North to 9th Avenue North. And then I would like to highlight a couple projects in Cass County. These are currently just highlighted for informational purposes. The first one is a locally funded project that is for a new roundabout at County Road 17 and 64th Ave South. And then same year, there's a Cass County project on CR 17, County Road 17, to replace the bridge over the Cheyenne River. And so currently we're highlighting those two projects. They may be considered regionally significant. We have yet to have that discussion, but if you remember, in 2022, there's the new County Road 6 that will be paved, so that these may have less of a transportation impact as in previous years when Horace residents could not head north to connect to our metro area and had to head either west or east and then up. Another rural project I would like to highlight for Clay County, this is on CSAH 2. Through the city limits of Comstock, they're doing an urban reconstruction of CSAH 2. So it's an important project that we wanted to include for informational purposes only. And lastly, the 2024 projects. These are all new projects. On the transit side of things, you can see a few transit capital purchases for the City of Moorhead Transit, some operating assistance for Moorhead Transit, operating assistance for Fargo Transit, and then there is a capital bus purchase for Fargo Transit, and that's for fixed route buses. All these projects are new in 2024. The first one I want to highlight is City of Fargo project on 32nd Avenue South from 25th Street to University Drive, and that's for the reconstruction of 32nd Ave South using federal funds. City of Moorhead has a project on 34th Street from 4th Ave South to 3rd Ave North. That's for a reconstruction of 34th Street utilizing federal funds. And I should note that that's in conjunction with the City of Dilworth, as their municipal boundaries meet at 34th Street North, and they share the roadway. We also added an illustrative project for the City of Moorhead in 2024 for the 11th Street Railroad grade separation project. This is an illustrative project, so it's included for informational purposes only. There's no funding source identified for that project, but it is anticipated to create a significant impact to our transportation system, and it will be a very, very large investment for our region. Clay County is adding a project on CSAH 14. That's 1.8 miles east of Minnesota 336. That's to replace a bridge over the Buffalo River. That's utilizing a federal funding source, and it's a rehabilitation project. And then I also want to highlight these two NDDOT projects. They are both illustrative. Again, there's no funding source identified, but these are included in anticipation for the FM area diversion, which will require the road to be raised, and there will be structure and drainage improvements in those areas. So before we continue, are there any questions or comments from either panelists or from our attendees about the project specifically? I'll check the chat quick too to see, but I know it's a lot of information to absorb, so hearing none, I will just continue on. If you do think of something, please feel free to type it into the chat, and we'll have another opportunity to discuss that towards the end. But let's get through the last few sections of the tip to highlight some changes. The section 4 of the tip is the ALOP, or Annual Listing of Obligated Projects. This is for the 2021 to 2024 tip. It reflects projects that have been bid or let in federal fiscal year 2020. Funding has been or will be obligated prior to fiscal year 2021, so prior to October 1st. Typically, these are projects that were the 2020 year as were listed in the 2020 to 2023 tip. Section 5, the financial plan and fiscal constraint. Updates throughout this section were reflected in the MTP, and including this table that lists operations and maintenance costs per year by jurisdiction for 2019 to 2024. And then a very important table in our tip is the fiscal constraint table, which lists the federal funding sources. And then it has columns for the federal funds available and the federal funds programmed and the federal funds balance, which should be zero. So basically this table is noting that we are not programming any federal funds over what is available. Funding totals include our federal, state, and local projects. They do not include the locally funded projects, but they do include regionally significant projects. So as you can see, 2021 and 2023 are fairly big federal funding years. A new feature of Section 5 includes additional monitoring for certain funding sources that would be impacted by a TMA designation, including STBGP and Section 5307, 5310, and 5339 funds. And this is critical information because it will help us monitor prior to TMA designation so that we can ensure that we're not being awarded more funding than would be available once we do switch to TMA. Plus, after TMA designation, this subsection will become more robust because we will need to monitor and track the direct allocations even more precisely. And the MTP Metro Grow estimated a direct allocation of STBGP funding of around $13.5 million. FTA funding sources were not estimated, but these are numbers that we will want to be on top of and track as we reach TMA designation. Excuse me. Section 6 is the overview of federal aid programs. This is one of my favorite sections because it lists all the federal funding sources. And then it also lists the state process in administering those funding sources and the current solicitation process. So you can see each funding source and the program funds per year or by year, fiscal year. So that's an interesting section. Not much has changed in there. Section 7 is the performance measures section. This is federally required. The states and MPOs are required to set performance targets. Safety performance measure, PM1, is set annually. Pavement condition performance measure, PM2, is set every 4 years. And then system reliability performance measure, PM3, is set every 4 years. And this allows us through the tip to really monitor our performance measures and how our spending impacts those targets. For instance, if we have more HSIP or Highway Safety Improvement Program funds, does that impact significantly our performance measure 1, which is safety target? Section 8 is an environmental consideration section. This is an important section in the tip because it does talk about our environmental justice and Title VI non-discrimination plan, which was recently adopted in 2020. And then the Title VI plan also identifies environmental justice areas that include minority populations and low income populations, and we map those areas in our urbanized area. This section also addresses air quality, and currently we're in attainment for the National Ambient Air Quality Standards as set by the EPA. But I will note that the Metropolitan Transportation Plan does have a proactive approach in addressing air quality, as a priority of that plan is to increase multimodal transportation such as bicycle and pedestrian and transit. This year, instead of a map like this, which we typically have done in the past, which lists all the TIP projects in relation to block groups of minority populations and low income populations, we buffered we we mapped projects that are within 1/4 mile of these populations. So these are really the critical projects that fall within 1/4 mile of either a block group with a minority population of 25% or more. And then we also show in pink here, it might be hard to see on the screen, but the 2020 low income area block groups. And those environmental justice areas are defined within our Title VI plan. Section 9 is the public involvement. So it summarizes the PPP or public participation plan requirements. And it summarizes our public process to support TIP development. Section 10 outlines our TIP modification process. So there are certain procedures and requirements and thresholds that require those procedures for amendments and administrative adjustments. And I will note again that federally funded projects are subject to this, as well as our regionally significant projects. There are 3 appendices as part of the TIP. Appendix A is public input. That's where we will include any comments or feedback that we receive. And Appendix B is the TIP modifications. So as we do amendments or administrative adjustments, we will add those in there. And then Appendix C is the local capital improvement programs, which we have received from most of our planning partners, and those are included in Appendix C. So how to stay involved? This public comment period goes until September 17th. And so we do encourage folks to jump on our website and view the final draft. You can also view the project listings by year. Let me just pull this up quick. So this is the draft TIP page. And you can view the project listings or full document here. If you would like to provide comments and really get into it on your own time, you certainly can do that. So you can download the final draft, take that optional Title VI survey, but most importantly is you can view projects and maps by year in here, and then send me a quick comment or question, or simply give me an email or a phone call too. The next steps for the TIP process: on Thursday, September 10th at 10 a.m., we will be holding a public hearing, and our participation information will be updated on our TIP webpage that is listed at the bottom of this slide. But that will be the formal recommendation of approval for the final draft document. And then that formal and final action would occur on Thursday, September 17th at our policy board meeting. And that would be the final public meeting opportunity and would end the public comment period. So we have just over a 60-day public comment period this year. All right. Again, thank you for coming today. And I just would like to say that we do this process every year. So please stay involved and check out our website. It's a really great way to stay on the pulse of transportation improvements in our community. And I appreciate everyone's time. I will stick around for the next 15 minutes or so if people do have questions or would like to discuss anything. Otherwise, thanks for spending lunch with MetroCog.